Well, hey, hot mamas, welcome to Crazy Sexy Menopause. You want to lose weight but not have to count calories? Well, intermittent fasting may be something you want to try. I'm Betty Vargas and I create content around menopause that helps pre-peri and postmenopausal women to live more vibrantly as they move through this change of life. Now, what is intermittent fasting? Well, it's a cycle of time restricted eating. There's no specificity to what you eat, although what you eat does make a difference though, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And definitely if you want to lose weight as the main goal for intermittent fasting, but what is important is when you eat. And so that's what these three areas are talking about. And they're not a diet. Intermittent fasting is not a diet. It is a method of eating. And I have been intermittent fasting actually before it became a thing. And my story is that I ate when I was hungry. I always ate when I was hungry. I started when I began weight training. That was when my diet changed to become more specific, but I didn't have to count calories or anything like that when I was during the time that I was intermittent fasting. And as I said, it's a method of eating. And so there's several different ways to intermittent fast, and I'm going to talk about three of them today, and I'll get into the pros and cons of each one of them. And hey, Marianne, how are you today? It's great to see you checking in with me today. So what I'm going to talk about is the first one I'm going to talk about is the 16-8 fast, the alternate day fast, and the 5-2 intermittent fast. So those are the three that I'm going to refer to today. And I'll start with the 16-8. The 16-8 is really when you're eating within an 8-hour window and you fast for 16 hours. And the 16-8 is most popular because it's most sustainable. And the basic way that most people do it is that you stop eating after 8 p.m. in the evening, and then you break your fast the next day at 12 noon. Then there are other eating windows that are considered within that 16-8, and they are like 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. where you eat your breakfast, lunch, and an early dinner and make sure that dinner is a light dinner. And going back to the 7 a.m. to the 3 p.m., that's, while you eat early, you stop eating late, and that's not necessarily what most people do. Because 3 p.m. is really early to stop eating, especially if you have a really great social life and you go out to dinner with friends and family. And so if you stop eating at 3 p.m., well, that's not going to be very sustainable. And then by the same token, there's the 12 p.m. to 8, the 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. The 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. And so you start eating at 2 p.m. and then you stop eating at 10 p.m. Now the issue with this one is that if you go to bed at 10 p.m., you don't really want to stop eating at that hour, because that really plays with your digestion. And you when you're sleeping, you want your body to be resting as well. So you don't want your digestive system to be working all the time, because then you wake up in the middle of the night, you can have indigestion and all kinds of issues if that is if during that particular period of time. Now, if you may want to, I was thinking about the people who do shift work, and that might be something that might be amenable to them, but it's based on what it is, how it fits into your particular schedule. And you pick those 8 hours that work best for you. Now, what to eat? And this really applies to all of the different fasts. And you want to drink lots of water. You want to you can drink plain coffee and tea, but I only drink water because that's what I do, and that works the best for me. Okay, I'm seeing some questions here. Marianne says, would it be okay to ease into it, like start a 14:10 or a 15:9? You can ease into it, and that is, that's absolutely doable. You want to do what's best for you, but ultimately that is the goal that you want, is to stop eating for a specific period of time, meaning that 16:8. Now, one of these other fast that I'm going to get into might be better for you. You might want to ease into one of these fasts before you do the 16:8, Marianne. So keep listening. And then Angelo says 16 hours of fasting, then eat, right? Yes. So typically for the 16 hours, the majority of that time you're sleeping. And so during the 8 hours during the day, you can eat whenever you want during that 8-hour period of time. And I hope that makes sense. So, now, what to eat during this particular time, and as I said, this really applies to all three of the fasts that I'm going to focus on, and water being plenty. You want to drink as much water as possible. And water, because one, we're all made of water, but over 70% water, but also water helps to keep you full, and in addition to flushing the toxins from your system. Now, also, you want to eat plenty of fruits. Fruits are really plentiful, and especially now during the summer, you get lots and lots of fruits of all different varieties. And so you want to eat fruits. You want to eat as many vegetables as possible. And you want to eat whole grains. And some of the whole grains, look at some other grains instead of just rice. So some other grains that are really high in protein and really great for you are like buckwheat groats, and quinoa, barley, spelt berries, and kamut berries. These are really great for increasing your protein intake, and also to have as a whole grain during your fasting. And they're really working they're much more beneficial for your body as well. And then in terms of healthy fats, you've got your avocados, and proteins are your legumes and your nuts and seeds. And if you consume meat, then you would eat eggs, your poultry, lean meat products, and fish. And so these are some of the foods that you want to eat during the time, and you want to steer away from any kind of processed foods, because 9 times out of 10, if you're trying to lose weight, it's the processed foods that have increased your weight anyway. And what I like to think, there are some people who talk about the 80-20 rule, but I like to think of it as 90-10, where you're 90% of the time you're eating all of these healthy foods that are really great for your well-being and your health and your longevity, and then 10% of the time you may want to eat out and eat something that is like a cake or a pie or something like that for a special occasion. And so now Angelo is asking, eating one meal a day in the 8 hours. Oh, no. During that particular 8-hour period of time, you can eat whatever you want out of these foods that I've mentioned, the fruits and the vegetables and the grains, and you can eat at any point in time during that 8-hour period. So, and then after that 8-hour period of time, then you stop eating. So that's the science actually behind these particular this particular way of eating. Now, some of the pros of the 16-8 is that you lose weight because you're reducing your caloric intake. And that's one thing I want to mention, is that you want to, if you're eating more calories in the form of vegetables and fruits, while they're dense and they're filling, you're not going to eat a large number of calories as if you were eating with meat, for instance, or with processed foods. So if you're eating an abundance of fruits and vegetables, you are not going to increase the calories that you consume during the day. And so that's why you want to keep you don't necessarily have to count the calories, but you want to keep track of the foods that you're consuming and making sure that they are healthy and not processed. And that supports the weight loss. Now, also, another pro, if for the intermittent fasting, for the 16-8 intermittent fasting, is that you save time and money. You save time spent in the kitchen, because you're not cooking all the time. You're not making several meals throughout the day. You're planning your meals a little bit better so that you know exactly what you're going to eat and when. And then your metabolic numbers change, because you improve your blood sugar levels, reducing the risk of diabetes, and you thereby extending your longevity. Your symptoms of menopause that may be attributable to anxiety or depression or fatigue, even brain fog, and mood swings are really improved during the intermittent fasting period of time. And another pro of the 16-8 is that it can be sustainable over the time. I've been eating this way for many years, and I've never had an opportunity where I felt deprived in any way, and so it's really works for me. Now, some of the cons in the beginning is that if you are thinking that, oh my gosh, I got to eat as much as I want. I can eat as much as I want, or I have to eat as much as I can during this 8 hour span of time. You may potentially gain weight. And so that's why I say, if you are consuming mostly vegetables and fruits, then you're going to feel full and you're not going to eat as much. Now, also, too, one of the cons is that if you are eating a lot, then you may wind up having digestive issues, or you may start, having like unhealthy eating habits. And so those are some of the things that you want to be aware of when you start this program. And also, too, whenever you are changing your diet or anything, well, definitely your diet, you're not eating at the same time, you're not eating the same kinds of foods, and so you might get what I call hangry. And that means that's a cross between hungry and angry, and meaning that if you're not eating at a specific period of time, then you may get irritable because you're not eating. But what my solution for that is to just drink some water, because many times that we think we're hungry, our body is just looking for the liquid in the food, because the body is looking for the water that we need. And so if we are constantly eating food, because we think we're hungry, we're gaining weight, but we're also not necessarily hungry, and we could just be thirsty. So Marianne says, I'm angry all the time. Well, water, Marianne, drink that water. And so, and as I said, your body may be looking for the water that's in the foods that you're consuming. And so that brings us to the alternate day fast. Now, the alternate day fast is that you eat every other day, basically. But the key to this one is that you either eat no food for one day, or you limit your caloric intake to 500 calories on fasting days. And so the pros of this particular program or fasting regimen is that it slows down the aging process. Now, all of these really will slow down the aging process. But this one particularly stimulates autophagy, and this is the process where your old cells are degraded and recycled. And it's also key in preventing the diseases including cancer, neurodegeneration of the cells, heart disease, and also infections. And so this one is really, there are a lot of people who utilize this particular protocol if they have some disease or some ailment that they want to heal. Also, it promotes weight loss, it reduces the obesity and diabetes. It decreases your blood pressure, your cholesterol, and your triglycerides. And also the reduction in your fasting insulin levels, especially if you are pre-diabetic. So this really works on those areas that are where you want to increase your numbers. Now, they all do, but this one is a process that is, one of the cons is it's a stricter eating plan. And so and it may not be sustainable for everyone because you are eating every other day. So this is something to also keep in mind when you are looking at the alternate day fasting. And and then the third one we're talking about is the 5-2. Okay, I see we have another. Let's see, Angelo says for alternate day fasting, you eat 500 calories on the fasting days. Not sure if I heard that right. Yes, you eat 500. You can eat either nothing on the no food. You either eat no food or you limit your caloric intake to 500 calories per day. Okay, does that clarify it for you? So you have a choice with the alternate day. You have the choice of eating no food on the fasting day or limiting your caloric intake to 500 calories per day. And so those are, and 500 calories per day is really not that much. So you really have to be vigilant in terms of your caloric intake on those particular days. So yes, thank you. Very good. Okay, so and that brings us to the 5-2. Now this is another regimen that has an interesting regimen. And this one is where you eat normal for 5 days and limit your caloric, and then on the 2 days you limit your caloric intake to either 500 calories for women or 600 calories for men on the 2 non-consecutive days. So and you, on those 2 days, if you're eating 500 calories for women or 600 calories for men, those days, you don't want to have those days together. So let's say during the week, you eat normal for 5 days, and then on the weekends you eat 500 or 600 calories. That's not the way this particular regimen works. You want to have a non-fasting day in between those 2 fasting days. So what that could look like is on the 500/600 days, you can do that on Monday and Thursday, and then eat normally on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you have a day in between. You have a non-fasting day in between those 2 fasting days. Now, some of the pros of this particular regimen is that people find that they feel more in control of what they're eating, and that they have a plan, because all of them require you to plan your meals. But these particular days, you can eat whatever you want on those non-fasting days. However, you still want to keep in mind that the fruits and vegetables, and you want to have more of those on your plate, as opposed to just eating, pastas and processed foods and cakes and cookies and things like that, and then on those other days you fast, because you're defeating your purpose in that way. So planning out your food, eating a healthy, nutritious foods during the non-fasting days really will help you to reach your goals, whatever that may be. And then another pro of this one is that you're flexible in that you can eat what and when you want. So in terms of like eating what you want, provided it's healthy, and when you want, is key, because if you want to eat, as I said, if you want to eat with your friends and family on the weekend, you can do that, and you can have your fasting days during the week, and it's much easier to work those in during the week as opposed to the weekends, because it's been my experience with clients that they have that they find it really difficult to sustain their eating habits on the weekend, when they tend to like fall off their programs. And so this one allows for that flexibility. Now, a couple of cons for this particular regimen is that there's severe calorie restriction on the fasting days, and you may feel tired or irritable during this particular time, hence the hangry. And then it can also be challenging to sustain for a long period of time. So those are some things that you want to keep in mind. And also, with all of these methods, you definitely want to check with your primary care physician before you do anything, to make sure that especially if your health is compromised by your metabolic numbers, or if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, or for children, it's not recommended, or if you also if you have an eating disorder. So those are some things to keep in mind, definitely. And let me see if there are there any questions that you may have regarding intermittent fasting? I don't see any questions coming up. They've been asked during the course of our conversation here. And so what I just want to let you know, that if you like this video, definitely subscribe, leave a comment, or connect with me by sending me an email. And always remember, it's your life. Live it well. Okay, so wait a minute. Let me see. What are they saying? I like the idea of now not counting calories. Absolutely, Marianne, because sometimes, and I don't particularly care for counting calories myself. However, if I have a specific goal that I'm looking to reach in terms of decreasing my body fat for a specific reason, then I will count my calories. But for the most part, I don't count my calories, and so that's what I love about intermittent fasting and the 16-8, because my diet is relatively clean. And so if I do during that 10% of the time eat, I'm not feeling guilty about it, unless, of course, I'm bloated at the end of the day. From some kind of, from a menopausal issue. And so Angelo is saying, no stickers to beat the hangries. I take it. No stickers, but listen, thank you so much for joining me today. Yay! I hope you learned something. I hope this was helpful to you, and that you found that there is an opportunity for you to incorporate one of these ways to eat differently, and to think about your diet in a new way, and how to focus on your health and your fitness. So thank you so much, Marianne. Thank you so much for coming, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Angelo, for coming. It was helpful, so I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's your life. Live it well.